So let's jump back into number 7. We had already figured out this was a setting question, and so we wrote setting and woods. And then we were looking at the box underneath the title to get our text evidence. And that box says, in Gary Paulson's book Hatchet, a 13-year-old boy named Brian crash lands a plane in a forest in the Canadian mountains. The part of that that states the setting is the phrase forest in the Canadian mountains. So the reason I'm putting that in quotes is that is the author's words. So I want to make sure to cite them with quotes. Now I'm ready to look back at my choices and see which one best matches my evidence. A says at the park, B says at a school, C says in the backyard, and D says in the wilderness. The answer that matches is D, in the wilderness, because wilderness means forest, and it has the word wild, reminding us that it is in the wild. Question 8. I've got fire is most like. For this question, there's not really a language artsy word, but I know that this is a genre question, meaning what type of story is it? So I'm going to think to myself about all the types of stories that I've read: historical fiction, fantasy, science fiction. This story to me seemed like something that could definitely happen. So I'm going to put here realistic fiction. Then let's look at my choices. A folk tale, B, a news article, C, a fictional story, D, an autobiography. I know that it's not an autobiography because the author's name is Gary Paulson and the main character of this is named Brian. That's not the same person, so I know it's not D. I know it's not a news article because it doesn't sound like something that is a current event, and it's not informing me, it's really telling me a story. So I have folktale A left and C, a fictional story. Folktales usually have something supernatural in them, like people flying or magic beans, and I didn't see anything supernatural in this one, so I'm going to go with C, which best matches what we already put, realistic fiction. Let's look at 9. Brian yells fire because. Okay, this type of question is a character question. Why is he yelling the word fire? So what I can tell based on the punctuation is that the tone here is loud and it uses an exclamation point. Exclamation points can show a lot of feelings. They can show anger, they can show excitement, they can show fear. So I want to think back and look back at the text to this part and see what is his emotion. So in this paragraph it says, fire, he yelled, I've got fire, I've got it, I've got it. So I'm going to add as our evidence, I've got it, because he repeats that. And the emotion that this seems to show is that he's really happy because he'd been trying to make fire the whole time. So he's not using an exclamation point out of fear or anger. Let's look at our choices. A, he's angry that he cannot light a fire. That doesn't make sense. He just lit a fire. B, he's worried that the fire will go out soon. He did get worried later, and that's when he was running around feeding the fire, but not at this moment. At this moment, he's just happy. He's excited that the sparks produce flames. The word excited matches what I already put, happy, so that's looking pretty good. D, he's concerned that the flames are too big to control. Concerned is a negative emotion, just like the word angry is a negative emotion, and we know that this was happy, positive, so the best answer is going to be C. Okay, last question time. Read this sentence from the passage. These he threw in the shelter, went back for more, threw those in, and squatted to break and feed the hungry flames. In this context, to feed the hungry flames means. The first thing I'm going to do is look back at the text to where this question appears, where this paragraph appears. And I'm going to look near the end of the text. This is when he's running around after he makes the fire, and it says he ran from the shelter to the pine and started breaking off the low, dead, small limbs. These he threw in the shelter, meaning the little sticks he threw in the shelter. went back for more, threw those in, and squatted to break and feed the hungry flames. So guys, this is the part where he's running around trying to make sure the fire doesn't go out by getting lots of sticks to put in it. So for my keywords, I know that this is a personification type of question because he calls the fire hungry and he also says that he has to feed it. But the fire is not actually a person. All this means is that he's giving the fire fuel. So I'm going to put that in my own words, getting sticks for the fire. And I want to see which best matches that. A, to blow onto the fire to make it burn hotter. That's what he had done before, so I know it's not A. To add more wood to keep the fire burning. Adding more wood is a lot like what we put, getting sticks for the fire, and it's a lot like the word feed in the personification, so B's looking good. C, to prepare some food to roast over the fire. The passage said nothing about food, so C is a pretty silly answer. D, to spread the burning wood so the fire cools. This word cools tells me that D is a bad answer because you would never want your fire to cool if you were just building it. You would want it to cool once you were done using it, and Brian is certainly not done using it. So the best answer here is B.